meeting is being recorded.
Was Yule Anderson in a breakout room?
Yo, who are you talking to?
Me calling somebody up. I'm sure if I'm supposed to be calling people out. But, or Erica.
Oh, hi guys.
Hi.
Hey, yo.
Are you available to come on camera, Yule? Because I do want to boast about you a little bit.
Yeah, you want me on? Hold on.
Yes. And who did you have the pleasure of getting to know in the breakout room?
Erica, Brenda, and I forget the other gentleman.
Erica, Brenda, and the other gentleman able to come on camera?
Oh yeah, let me open up my Zoom thing and fix my audio. Okay. Here I am, so you can see me now, I'm a real person. Oh, I have to adjust it a little bit.
Describe yourself to, who did
There you go.
describe yourself to, Yule? Who would best be able to describe you, Yule?
Oh, I don't know, because I didn't get that type of question.
Well, let me ask you, where are you from, Yule? Where is your ethnicity originally?
My great-great-grandparents are from the Caribbean, from St. Croix and Montego Bay, Jamaica, and they migrated in the 1890s to New York.
Amazing.
So-
Where are you now?
Yes, and right now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, USA.
Okay. And what is your unique, beautiful gift that you bring to the world?
I believe my unique gift is to provide a different way of seeing the world.
Amazing. While you're on that, how long would it take you to have the website up? Do you still have the posts from the talks that happened?
Yes, I posted the links in the chat.
Okay, great. If you want to come off of camera, click on that, set up your, set it up so you can show that. We're going to digest into that at some point today for sure. I just want other people to be aware that that is still up and that there's some beautiful conversations that happen there.
Okay, I'll set it up.
Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Thanks. What do you think would make, last question I have for you, Yule, but you don't have to be on camera. What would make this world a better place for Black people? How can we be a better position in the world going forward?
I think one of the things, looking at the global diaspora movements going on, is that we need to be educated in the geopolitical, multilateral construct of global governance, and we need to participate more fully.
Thank you so much for that.
Thanks.
Okay, I would ask that those who are ready to come on camera and introduce somebody, just raise your hand if you're online. And for now, we're going to move to I want you to introduce his specifically after. Yule, Brian, Errol Gibbs, they're all very future. Yule's platform is huge, and as a counterpart to Canada, I'd love to see Yule here, and maybe some of us go there. But you know, he's deeply invested, and he works with some people who also have some amazing highlights, especially in AI and some of the areas that we really need to tap into. Farley, would you like to introduce?
Absolutely. You want to come up there, right?
Both of you, please. Thank you.
First.
So I am Lana Stanley, introducing Felix Farley. I think you all know him.
Farley Flex.
Farley Flex. See, I got your name wrong. So Farley was originally from Trinidad, but is now identified as African. He resides in Ajax. His talent is ideas. You know him from entertainment, creation, restaurants. I reminded him I attended his restaurant when he first opened. The change that Farley would like to inspire us is to embrace each other. And I shared some stories with him around trying to do that myself. So that's what we're working on, right?
All right, and this is Lana Salmon, right? And Lana is formerly a financial services provider, and which obviously is a critical aspect of our community development from a community development standpoint in an economically driven environment, as we are in the Western Hemisphere here. Her ethnicity is Jamaican, right? And we've had a conversation about that, about our true identities in terms of who we are, not the bus stops that we were made to stand at. And that's what inspired the conversation about my name change and so forth. She currently resides in Brampton. That's local to this office, I guess you could say. And her talent is as a connector. She likes bringing people together and recognizing that 1 + 1 can equal 3. That's the way I put it. And the aspect of change she'd like to see is to resolve the actual disconnection, which obviously fits with her talent, right? She feels that our community is very disconnected, and we have not, with that comes the lack of recognition of our potential and the manifestation of our potential as well. This is.
As a matter of fact, I'll just add, I just recently sold my financial practice, and I was able to sell it to a Black woman. Very unusual. And so we need a lot of young people who are licensed properly and working with great companies to continue to be financial advisors.
Awesome. Awesome.
Be a little clearer for us to hear them. That I believe those who are on Zoom, they're having a little trouble hearing us. So if we can protect our voices a bit. I'm gonna save some special people, but everybody in here is special. I didn't even mean to say that, but I'm just gonna, because of what we want to do next, I'm gonna save this gentleman for last. So that means you two will go last because his software. So I'd ask for the two in the back then. Your faces are very attractive, but not sure if either of you are single, but just saying.
Just as we go on, you know. Welcome, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Candace, and I'm introducing Errol Anderson today. He's from Jamaica, but he's living in Etobicoke. And his special gift is connecting with people. So he's been in the nursing field for over 10 years. So he's obviously, into helping people, meeting their needs and servicing those needs. And what he thinks our community could do better with is creating governance. And he's actually already started doing that with a website called TAHPIN.com.
Right. Thank you. And as you know, this is Candace. She resides in Brampton, and she's from St. Lucia. One of the things that Candace likes to do is to empower people, and she also has a non-profit business and is a realtor. And one of the things that so Candace wants to see for the community is to have us be united as one. And as we were talking, just some of the things as a realtor that we both share is to have sort of us having that financial independence and building a future.
Thank you both so much. Okay, and if you're in, yeah, turn on your phone. If you're in the chat and you could let Ryan know if you can hear better now. I think we're using my speaker. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but let us know. Did you guys have is anybody in the room not? You and? Okay, it's better now, so we'll leave this audio.
He has a background, substitute, serial entrepreneur, martial arts, something or a belief in yourself. As ideas. Um, yeah, so I'd like to introduce Andrew. Hopefully you can hear me. So his ethnicity he described. Okay, said soup. Milkshake. So Afro, Indian, Jamaican, Chinese, Irish. So milkshake. So some of his skills and strengths that tech support analyst, just a associate, big rig. And what he's hoping to change in our community is to build an Afrocentric socio-economic landscape. You know, to be able to foster generation, because that will be the key, you know, to bankroll the ideas to help push our community agenda. Oh, right, he's a music producer.
Of the online folks, I didn't see anybody volunteering to come out next. Can I call on Shirley Josma? Are you able to come? Oh, there you are. Hi, Shirley. Who did you get to know?
Hi. Unfortunately, I did not get to discuss much with the person that I met. We were in there for a few seconds and we're having technical issues. And yeah, I can talk about myself just to say my name is Shirley Josma. I'm the co-founder of iCleanse, Carpet and Upholstery Cleaning in Moncton, New Brunswick. What I would like to see for the community is definitely mind change, and more coming together, helping each other. That's what I really want. I really want us to be more close to each other and help as much as we can. Yep, thank you.
Thanks for introducing yourself. Can I ask you a question? You have a large community where you are?
Not really, not really, but we have African people, Haitian people from the Caribbean as well in Moncton, New Brunswick, but we're not a lot.
Okay, so I would ask in the chat, if we know that Shirley's in Moncton, if you have an organization that has a reach there, or if you have connections in Moncton, please feel free to contact or connect with Shirley in the chat. Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you.
James Mohato, are you able to off of mute and introduce yourself, preferably on camera? You understand?
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, hi everyone. Hi, James Mohato. Yes, indeed. I'm just going through my.
Where do you live, James?
Oh, so I'm Calgary based. Yeah. And yeah, one of the co-founders of Wovio. So we're a platform that just supports communities and businesses in financing and credit building. And my partner was Doug Minter. We didn't specifically go too deep into it, but one thing that he did mention that we really kind of both reflected on for the Black community was appreciating, I think, the very rich diversity of Canada, in the sense that when you compare us to the States, and I think Doug was educating me more on this, just that in the US, a lot of communities almost stick within themselves in a sense. It is very diverse in just having different nationalities and different people from all over the world. But basically the example he was giving me, that in a day he's able to interact with so many people from so many different cultures, and even with the different challenges happening in the world, in Canada, being able to, one, understand all these different perspectives and appreciate them. So yes, I think maybe one thing for the Black community I would want is ability for us to maybe appreciate different perspectives and equally acknowledge and really work together to move forward. So appreciating other cultures and communities and their perspectives they bring to conversations.
Question. What's your unique gift? James,
Oh, sorry.
other than your voice, what is your unique special gift?
Oh, my unique skill?
Yes.
Oh, I'd say collaboration and relationship building. Yeah, I'm really driven to work with communities and almost build a bigger pie rather than slice smaller pieces. Yeah.
And you have a radio voice.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Well done.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Listen, compliment is a great way to put a smile on someone's face, and we want more people. Kwame, what can I do to make you smile, Kwame? Can you come on camera and introduce yourself? And then Doug, I'll probably come to you next, but I don't see your name on the screen, so I didn't see you in the room. Kwame.
How do I mark it? Can you hit my view there? So I want to see my mic.
I will ask you first. Your name is Kwame Ben.
And Mike. And Mike.
That's true. So I'm on camera twice.
You're supposed to hit down here somewhere, and that's supposed to come out.
Kwame, we'll get right back to you. Okay, I think you're trying
I'm here. I was having some technical difficulties.
Okay.
All right, let me just turn on my camera so you can.
Full name.
All right.
Wait.
So yes.
How are you, my brother?
I'm very good, thank you. And you?
I'm well. What's your special talent? Changing the order of the questions for you.
What's my special unique talent?
Yes.
Building. I'm a master builder with about 25 years experience of building all kinds of things around the city of Toronto.
To hear that. And can I ask, where are you located?
I live in North Etobicoke, Finch and Islington area.
And your cultural ethnicity is?
I claim Africa.
Okay. And lastly, what do you think would make for a better Black society moving forward?
Collaboration, and I can peg that towards even say the construction industry. I've been in the construction business for 25 years and I don't see enough of us in the business. So if we can collaborate more, I think we'll get more of us inside that construction space.
Amazing, and there is so much procurement in that space as well too. My father, who's was a building inspector for the city of Toronto, he was a supervisor actually, and he was the only one in his space for the longest time. But unfortunately, the way his job did not have gone to a Black person, he was the first and the last, and I get to see more. When you go to that division of City Hall, you don't see a Black face. So
100%, 100. I have not met a Black inspector in the city of Toronto or in any of the cities I work, from Hamilton to Newmarket to, I don't know, Prince Edward County to wherever I've worked, Newmarket, Barrie, I don't see anybody.
Yeah, my father, who would have been Grenadian, he was in that space until 1995. So I understand where you're coming from. Has anybody ever introduced you to a group called ACA?
Yes, I am struggling to be a member, I should say. I tried to become a member and I got kicked out, so I'm gonna try again.
Okay, great. Well, at least you're aware of them and they're aware of you. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. I've gone to a couple of the meetings and everything like that.
Sorry, Brian has something to add too. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Kwame, for.
You're welcome.
We look forward to your contribution to the group events.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Caesar, can I invite you up to introduce?
I know you two introduce each other.
Yeah, well, this is actually the first time we're meeting in person. We've been on the show with Dr. Vibe together, Black Canada talking. So yeah, a bit of a background.
I think this mic is picking you up. If anybody can't hear you, they'll let us know in the chat. Do you want me to ask you, or are you fine representing
Having presented myself, I appreciate
First one is William Dolphy, the Ottawa, and what's your background?
I'm a Samoan, but
And whatever else you next, you're gonna face that. And thanks.
that's the first time for me. Thank you very much. He insisted on it. I'm regional director in the special government child welfare. So, I'm taking that. Sure. Equity. Last week, kind of issue. All issue. So for self, significance to hiring teachers to making accommodations. So, so
What do you see as being something that as a Black community we need to do better to position ourselves better going forward?
So, no, that's like, it seems cliche, but it's an excellent each person. Think if there have, 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 make this is a place that jail short. So what I would say that big focus. I've heard of the militant bill of black bill. That we answer that I in full environment. The fundamental and keep playing. Usually,
Can you turn on your mic? The can't hear.
yes, unfortunately, my biggest threat is another black person. Please don't get me wrong. I'm black and proud, Pan-Africanist, I will always support my brother and sister. But you have to understand what I'm saying to you. My biggest threat, as you see me here, is someone like Shaquille O'Neal. Why? Basketball player, my favorite player, basketball player, but mainly seen for acting like that. Yet, his full name is not Shaquille O'Neal. It's Dr. Shaquille O'Neal, but he doesn't bring forward the fact that he has a PhD in education to comfort white people for access to money. That's a fundamental problem in our black communities. I need an image that is self-possible. So entertainment consumerism, like I said, black communities are known for. Not exactly true. But black communities waste and don't properly spend the money, not only because of identity. As an African, I can assure you this 100%, and any African institute will tell you there's a higher likeliness for an African person to spend money according to religion, aka to buy from the Arab Muslim or to buy from the Christian white, than to go support their brother or sister from the Caribbean or from Africa. You see this right now in Africa, where you have in Congo people protesting in support of Israel because they go to church. People protesting in support of Palestine in Senegal because they go to the mosque. Ask the same people to show you Haiti, Jamaica on the map. They don't.
That's right.
And they're not ashamed of it. And the third one, for many black people, is controversial. It's addressing religion. It's addressing the very spirituality of our people. It's so serious at the United Nations. In end of May, early June, I was one of the representatives of the Black Civil Society, and African spirituality was one of the topics that was recognized as fundamental to upbringing, uplifting the black communities worldwide, because we are the only community in the world seen and known to be in the religion of our oppressors. Every year we have black people who do the Hajj, the Muslim pilgrimage, come back complaining of this. Every year there are testimonies of African nuns raped in Rome and the Vatican. Every year we have black children who never even get to go to the police or hear any justice because the blackness gets dismissed. Anything and everything. But if I can give you a true example, I purposely don't wear black. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. So it's just many things in terms of why addressing identity is the cornerstone in terms of our success. Because those other minorities that we see as successful today, let's be real, let's name them. Jewish, at the time they weren't considered white. Chinese, there was a time 50 years ago, Bruce Lee, one of the reasons he left America is because of that Chinese discrimination. But all those communities that succeeded in inflection was central to the identity. Today we live in a world, and as you hear in Brampton, nicknamed Brown Town. You go to the movie theaters, they got Indian movies, Indian cinemas. Identity is the cornerstone of success. In the same way as without a sense of family, you cannot create a civilization. It's not just a village, it's a civilization. I apologize. I lasted too long.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, at this time, I want to go back to somebody that was in the room. Right after that, we're then going to kind of get towards the purpose of today, which is to look at some key areas that I'm sure we'll all agree are those areas in which we need to start to discuss how in each of those areas we can do better, be better, and align ourselves for a better future. Collectively with those areas together, this is really just a brain dump. We're here and we're going to express our thoughts on one another, and then as we start to express our thoughts and each other starts to express their thoughts, I would expect those thoughts to collectively rise. The same will be happening on Zoom online, and our beautiful tool will be collecting the results so that this discussion can be carried on after. Before we do that, I would also like us to know one of the resources. Before we were speaking to Yul Anderson, who's here, I had a lovely day about a month ago where I just had the privilege of getting a lot of Yul. That's how I met him. He had an event, and his event, I would always kind of pop in the room before the event started, and he gave us a chance to talk. That website is still up, and it has a lot of what the different speakers spoke about. And the tool, again, it's important that we know all the tools all around the world, not just here, but also in the US. So I'm hoping Yul is ready now. Ryan, he would need to be able to share his screen.
Yes.
And so, Yul?
Thank you so much. Actually, there's a question, the question you are going around with. We are not here, maybe I'm not on the question. And you're talking about what does Black community actually suffer.
Can I ask you two questions first and that one? First, what's your name?
Please
Can you come with me too?
My name is Peace.
Okay,
Yes.
come.
All right, thank you so much.
My name's Lorraine Tellis. What's your name? Peace. Thank you. And Peace, where do you live? Do you live here?
I'm in Brampton.
And you ethnically, where are you from?
I'm a Nigerian.
Okay.
I'm a little woman.
Can I ask you what your unique gift is? But I think I already know. What's your unique gift?
My unique gift? Smile.
And now, what do you think would make the Black community better?
Thank you so much. Actually, what I want to add to what my brother has said, he spoke about identity, very, very important. Great, wherever, whether in the job, whatever you are, identity matters a lot. And then spirituality also. That's one of the great areas that we have been neglecting. But my question now is, how are we going to get this into, because what we are doing, and it's not only for us, I'm 60-something, maybe very soon, I'll be transferring to the younger generation. But the important thing is that our younger generations that are coming up, how do we transfer this? Actually, my brother, what you are saying, I really appreciate, and I really thank God for the position you have. How can we put our, like in curriculum, school curriculum, how can we put all this back? I know that, for example, in my country, they've been turning it up and down. At times, they will be moving even African history or Nigerian history or Igbo history. So also, I think that's also what is happening in Canada. And if you don't tell a child where she is or he is from, there's no way they will know it. It's just like my grandchildren, I've been pressing, even their grandpapa will say, stop speaking English, tell them speak, our language, tell them, show them. How can they know if we do not show them? Even the word of God said it, how can they know if nobody tells them? So it's very, very important that whatever we are doing, that we think about, just like our brother, past, the people past, they have been talking about it, and then we're able to carry on. So I think the important thing is to see how we can push in any program that concerns our identity, our spirituality, whom we are, what we do, where we are from, our history, into the school system for our children from the kindergarten. I know that even at school, even in their nursery school and kindergarten and so on and so forth, even they face that bullying and those things that other ones can speak up. But those little ones, I've had that experience. Even at times, I feel like tying my waist the way we do it back home and going to the school to tell the teacher, come and let us settle it here before.
Yes.
Yeah. But the thing is, because of the society where we are in, you just have to looking for tactfully how you can pass it on to them that you know what is going on, not on my child. So that is my, I know, sorry, I'm taking your time. So I think the thing is, how can we push this thing into curriculum so that they will know that Black people matters? Because if we do politics with it and paint it up, we'll need to start from the grassroots so that by the time these children comes up,
they will know when by the time they come up, sorry, then they will know that this is it. Then they will take it to the next level. Education matters a lot as far as I'm concerned. Whatever we are doing, if we don't get it through the education, it's not easy. So I still suggest and humbly request that if there are our people, blacks that are in the system who can, you know, in policy making, that we should be looking into that. How can we get these children educated just as we are, and that we have that experience doing this, to educate them in all those areas, to get our whom we are into the curriculum, our history, everything, so that they will know that yes, we are from this part of the world. Thank you so much.
Can you switch on mute? I just need three things.
Okay, so you unmute. I'm gonna ask Jacel if she can come off from mute again. Jacel has turned on closed captioning, and I just want her to describe that to everybody else that's in the Zoom. Apparently, if you can turn on closed captioning, then it will tell you on the screen what the speakers are saying. But we will be in breakout rooms soon.
Okay, thank you, Lorraine. Yes, so I'm using an Apple phone, just for everyone who, might not be using an Apple phone. At the bottom of the screen, there are some icons there. So there's the microphone button, the camera button, the participants icon, and then the chat icon. If you just slide across, just kind of move that to the side, you'll see just beside share, closed captioning. I've selected closed captioning, and that's allowed me to have a visual transcript pop up on my screen. So I'm able to follow along that way. I hope that helps folks in the space who aren't able to hear as clearly. However, with the ACBN microphone picking up the speakers, it's a lot more clearer in terms of consistency. You just have to hold the phone right up to your ear so that you can hear the speakers.
Thank you so much for that, Jacel. And just so everyone knows, Ryan is on one side of the room with one laptop. I'm on the other side of the room with another. And then I have a speaker. So when everybody on Zoom speaks, we can hear you quite clearly because it's going through my laptop through a speaker. When I speak, you can probably hear me pretty clearly because I'm sitting right in front of that. And that might happen as well when Ryan speaks. But when the speakers speak, they're in the middle of the room and they're between two laptops, so the volume will be a little down. There are three more components that will require you to hear us. We're going to reintroduce the three tools that we have in the room. We have one online, Yul Anderson. I'd like him to go next so that he can tell us what his amazing platform that's online and what our counterparts in the States are doing. Then next, I'll ask Joe to come up again and remind everybody about Real Ones and how to use it. And then we're going to really deep dive into what we're doing today, and we'll be introducing the tool, and its founder, Patrick, will be leading us into that. Then we'll be going into break rooms where everybody can start to just slowly digest on each of the topics that we're going to introduce today. Education, for instance, is one, so we just got into that. Economics might be a topic, and so on. And everybody will have a time to contribute on each topic, but you'll go into different rooms and break out on different. Yul, are you ready?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So I'm going to try to share screen. If you, great, I got that option. And let me go here. No, hold on. There, great, super.
And Yul, if you can give us the, let's say, up to 5 minute version, does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. So here is a website of a conference. We did the first conference at Carnegie Hall in 2022. We just completed our 2023 conference. Ryan participated in that conference. And what we do is we utilize a futures research methodology for scenario development and policy planning, which will culminate at the United Nations Summit on the Future. I've read your manifesto, and I believe that a lot of it relates to futures policy program directing. So here is the conference. You can follow it. It has Zoom links, And where it says join us, you can click on that. We talk about methods. We did diaspora futures. There's Ryan's picture right here. We did metaverse futures, Future Black America, and there's about 15 speakers over the 3-day conference. So I welcome you guys to look at that. That's www.futureofblackamerica.com. And as you see, the future includes all of us in the Black diaspora. I share that to say here, this is the European Union's Office on Foresight Methodology. And this is their most recent report, the European Commission. They basically plan for Black swans or Arab Springs, if you want to call them that. And here at the index on this particular report, let me get to it real quick. There's a section on threats to democracy and existing social contract. I recommend you might want to read some of this. The threats to democracy and existing social contract. Inequalities are deeply linked with lower trust in national and EU institutions. This can include the feelings that you have about Canadian-based institutions, as well as in liberal democracy at large, disenfranchisement, growing discontent, and the lack of a positive agenda combined into an erosion of trust. And then I'll just get down here where it says, the level of democracy enjoyed by the average citizen has fallen back to levels last recorded in 1989. That is not very good for progress. I would say that a document like this, coupled with, along with your manifesto, you might want to merge the two. In Canada, you have an office called Policy Horizons, which works on Canadian immigration policies. It's a foresight unit of the Canadian government. It basically is preparing for any type of disruption. But what I've done, I work with this organization, which is how I came into contact with your organization. And what I want to do is I want to utilize the Policy Horizon arm of the Canadian government to provide you guys with training and foresight research methodology, if you don't have it already, so that you can participate fully in the United Nations Summit on the Future. And I will just show you that before I end and close, okay? And this is really important because they're talking about reshaping the planet based on these quote unquote social development goals. And here you see the United Nations Summit of the Future. It's a unique opportunity to rebuild. And those power governments those governments that are in power now are planning on a future that allows them to retain power. And so if we don't show a unified front at the United Nations conference next year, the opportunity or the window for opportunity may be closed. So this is the type of work that I do. And this is what I have been doing, training people to prepare for various summit meetings. So I'm very happy to be here with you guys today and look forward to working with you. And now I will end my share.
Thank you so much for that, Yul. And I
Great.
think you already put it in the chat, the link to this website. And if you feel free to do so, or if you'd like to do so, Giselle also added it in. If you'd like to do so and you'd like to be contacted, if everybody that's in the Zoom room would like to leave a way to be contacted, or if you want to start sharing your business links, your email addresses, your phone numbers, however you want to be communicated, that would be great. Appreciate it. And now I'm going to ask for Joe.
Let me mute my
Again. So you know what? You want to sit here and do this on camera because then they'll get your audio. Yeah.
So once again, thank you for having me, getting a chance to speak about real ones. So to put it quite simply, We call Real Ones the GBS for Black-owned businesses and allies of the Black community. If you go into the App Store on Apple or Google Play right now, type in Real Ones, all one word, you can get this app. So it is something that we believe in as a movement to answer the question of how we can connect and mobilize as quickly as possible. What makes Real Ones different? One is that it's free. Two, it is built on passion and the concept of allyship. So I've invested over 100 grand of my own money, maxing out the equity in my home because I believe in it that much. I'm not the kind of person that believes in gatekeepers, even though they may exist. To me, that's not going to stop. It's going to take a generation or 2 generations, whatever is within my power to accomplish. I'm going to work towards that. And with help, 2 people can accomplish much more than 17 people can do even more. 50 people, 100 people. Now we're talking about a movement. You know, there's a quote that says, "Be so good that they can't ignore you." And Real Ones is, I believe, the answer to that. I've heard of a lot of businesses, a lot of movements, a lot of nonprofits on Zoom and in the room, and you're free to download the app to add your businesses on. There's 44,000 lines of code that was built into this movement. We have 209 businesses listed in 9 countries right now and over 1,000 users actively searching every day. So how you can get involved is really to tell people, to spread the word. If you have a business, if you know of a business owner, let them know. And the great thing about it is all of these businesses can actually exist and interact with each other on the app. If you have a pop-up shop, if you have a sale going on, you can actually put those announcements in. Users can curate their own list. You can build your list of favorite jollof rice places, because that can be controversial depending on the person that you talk to. The best place for jerk chicken or doubles or roti, like, and even if we're talking about the construction industry, you can find businesses like JCell, Love Cleaning is on there as well. So it's a way to actually build your own list and subscribe to the notifications of those businesses. So now there's community right on the app. Everything is searchable. You can personalize it with your flag of where you're from. And this is where we're trying to really drive change. So I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. And you can actually go on to jointhegba.com/realone. You'll see the full summary of what we're about and what we're doing. Or you can follow us on Real Ones by GBA on Instagram and all.
So when you, first of all, what's the best way to find it? Should I do it online or should I do it through the app?
So I would suggest, well, the only way to do it is through the App Store. So it is a mobile app. Over 80% of the internet is consumed on mobile devices now. So we go to right where people are. So you can pull it up right on your phone, add your business there, search for businesses. You can stay from here and search businesses in New York, businesses in Dominica, add them to your list. If you're planning a trip, this is what we really want to get to, is having so many businesses on here. The 66,000 that are in Canada, if we had that full list here, imagine what you could accomplish. Imagine like how much more you could engage with your community, spend, shop locally, buy Black, work with them. That is what we're about.
So I could be traveling all over. I could have my Real Ones app on my phone. My business you see there as well, the ACBN,
Yep.
And I'm in California, Caribbean.
Right.
Now, one thing I find is that I also have a buy Black stuff,
Right.
directory on. So how can those directories feed into your directory and how can that?
Right. So that is ultimately the goal. We have 200 listings right now. We want to get to the tens of thousands, the millions worldwide. That is 100% the goal, and that's what we're working towards. Ryan gave me a piece of advice 2 months ago, and I'm actually putting that into practice. He looked at the app and he said, you should get an EA to go through the directories, reach out to people, and we're actually putting there into my employment requirements for the job that we built out. So I'm listening to advice. All the different directories, I am more than welcome to work with them. Like every single directory, you can actually exist. Your space can exist on the app itself. By searching BBPA, anyone associated with that organization will show up no matter where they are in Canada. ACBN is another one. Buy Black, Black-owned CEO, KWM, Keeping Wealth Melanated. Like we do our research. We know that they're out there, and we're not trying to replace anyone because you have your clientele, you have your business, you have your own mandates, but you can all work together and exist on the app. You can build this to be able to engage with ACBNs and others. And
Joe, how much longer will you be?
I will stay as long as it takes because I am honestly committed to making this happen. If you need help adding your business, if you have any questions, say I will work towards it. This is priority one for me, so I'll make that.
Okay, as the clock ticks on, because we know time stands for no one, waits for no one. I'm getting ready to let Patrick let it be his time. So again, the real goal of today is to just have, you know, I find sometimes with our community, it's nice to just, sometimes when you're at work, and people who know me know I'm a frank. So sometimes you're at work and something happens, or you're in your work environment, you're in your business environment. There's nothing you can do to change what happened. For some reason, you pick up the phone and you call so and so. And when you call so and so, girl, the person on the other line can do nothing. But for some reason, when you get off the call, you feel a little bit, you're more able to. That's what today's video. There are a number of people in our community. Sometimes we're not heard. Sometimes, we don't feel like we're able to affect change. But today we'd like to collectively collect those thoughts from everyone. We'd like to record those thoughts, and we'd like to keep them and preserve them so that as the effort of different members of the Black community to get to the UN, to get towards a think tank, to get towards a project, to get future funding, we want to know that there's a documentation of the feelings of our community that are easily accessible for anyone to share. And that's why we want to try and collect them. Real Ones is a great tool for us to be anywhere and know our Black people. I actually saw it with my own eyes the other day. I did my calculation and I realized this Christmas, my Christmas gifts could all come from. We're here now. Now it's just a matter of knowing which Black-owned businesses and where they are. Now, in terms of conversation, I'm starting to think that we all think. There's a lot of times people say we're divided because of this culture, we're divided because, but that's a story with it. More and more when I meet my people, we're all on the same tip, right? We all want to see better, we are doing better. Many of us are now in jobs that matter, and we want to take this further. And talking, I can tell you that I've learned this year for sure. My sister, a new sister, is here in the room. And I can tell you that the power of just bringing people in a room and talking, it can produce businesses, it can produce funding, it can produce profitability. And so this wonderful tool and Katano exists to help us to capture, discuss, and to create a path. I'll call it a Black Twitter. There's a section of it to me that functions like a Black Twitter where you can simply pose a question or a point of view, and then people can just build on that. So Patrick, if you'd like to come up here.
Okay. Yeah, go to this. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I really enjoy these conversations because it does tell us and remind us that we are closer in mindset than sometimes we are told. Even though there are some challenges across your community. So as I listen to everyone come up and speak about what they'd like to see change in the community, my question for maybe the last 15 years has been how? How do we actually implement the various things that we want to do? And, not-for-profit organizations are attempts to organize community of any kind. Now, the challenge has been that the community development, by definition, is stakeholders coming together, identifying issues, developing solutions, implementing them, and engaging with the product by broad definition. However, development of communities actually goes through 3 steps. And this has been the 3 steps from the dawn of time. First, they organize. That's the first thing they do. Second, they practice community economics. And one of the ways in which they do that, and we have a very good example of it here in Brampton, is when you live in a similar physical geography. Because then you can easily set up businesses, you can move from one street to the next street, and you engage. And then third, you build individual and community wealth. I would venture to say that probably the most important aspect of those 3 steps is going to be organizing. And organizing can be done either haphazardly and really don't get much, or it can be guided. But the question comes back to how do we actually do it? You see, back when Martin Luther King was going from town to town in the South, he was organizing, but it took time. It took a lot of money. It took a lot of effort. We now have technology in this day and age that actually allows us to, in real time, organize on a central site. And that's what Mkutano is all about. It is focused on supporting, facilitating organization. And Mkutano is a Swahili word which means meet. So that's why you see on our banner here, or poster here, that it says Mkutano, where Black Canadians meet and organize. And so the platform actually enables us to overcome all the challenges, or the 3 main challenges that we all discussed here this evening and what's listed there. One is segmentation. We are segmented. We come from 170 different nations. We have different views, religions, perspectives, sometimes even conflicting interests. We address that. We address organizational siloism, because every community has their own set of organization and everybody's doing their own thing, and we don't know about each other. Okay. And then third, it allows us, or it provides for us, a real-time communication platform, which we currently do not. As a matter of fact, most communities do not have a real-time communication. So Mkutano actually gives us, as Black Canadians, an advantage that we really should take, use. So with all of that, Mkutano has 2 sides to it right now. The platform has a formal side where we deliberate formally. We have formal debates. We have surveys. We have forms. We have organized meetings. A lot of functionality to it. But we are a people who like to talk, right? And so we need to have a place where we can chat. And so there is a forum side where we just talk. Somebody poses a question. Like I posted a few questions on the platform. One of them being, should we have a national rites of passage for our Black teenagers that is culturally appropriate, that has some localization? So hey, I posed this question before, and the kind of responses we were getting was very varied. So I would offer to you that is where now we can have this conversation. So as we have the conversation in the forum, and we now need to move to a more formal process, we move over to the other side of Mkutano. I can tell you right now, we are still making one connection. The forum is separate from the formal piece, but in the next 3 weeks to a month, it will merge, such that when you go into Mkutano, if you go back up to the trip, you see it says your forum. When you click on the forum, that will take you over to the other side. So right now, they're a bit separate, but that will be ending fairly quickly. So Mkutano is that place where we can document all our conversation, where we gather our ideas, our strategies, where we plan, where we monitor, where we do analysis, where we engage. So I want to paint a picture for you. There's 1.5 million people in 1.5 million Black Canadians. Let's say half of that are kids. So we're down to 750. Let's say there's another half, folks that are just not interested. They're doing their own thing. We're down to what, 375,000 thereabouts. If in 4 or 5 years from now, we've got 375,000 people on this platform, providing their input, allowing us to do surveys, allowing us to collect information. Can you imagine how we can change our situation? Because we'll be able to gather data, we'll be able to get insight, we'll be able to do things that frankly no other community is able to do right now. Because in Canada, no other community is doing what we're proposing. The only community that comes close to Black Canadians is the Jewish community. They also come from many different nations. They have many different languages, but they have one religion. And there's also a coalescing language, Yiddish. And Hebrew, yes. And they have an experience that binds them, that being the Holocaust. But what is interesting about us as Black Canadians is that the experience of discrimination and slavery is not strong enough to coalesce us. It isn't. And so what does that mean for us? It means that our organizing must be intentional. It must be intentional. We must commit ourselves that we are going to be stronger together. We will achieve more and faster if we work together. The days of it's us four and no more will not leave us or take us far. Because there is coming a time in this economy when we have been the last hired and the first fired is real. So if we don't get real about what we need to do, there are tens of thousands of jobs that are available that we need to move into, companies that need to be formed, companies that need to merge, collaborations that need to happen. If we are not serious and intentional about that, we only have a window of time for us to execute them. Mkutano allows us to do that in a place that is transparent, that is democratic, that is secure, that is in real time. And so we are inviting everybody to participate, not only by joining the platform, but contributing. Your opinion is as important as the next person. And I'll sort of end with this. I have been doing a lot of research on African social development philosophy. And you know what's interesting? A lot of African social development philosophies have been around for hundreds of years. And Western society is actually just discovering some of that. I'll give you one example, the Paris Peace Accord, climate change agreement, was actually came together in South Africa by using a South African organizing philosophy that broke the deadlock on the Paris Peace Accord for climate change within a matter of days. They have been working on it for I don't know how many years and months, and they couldn't come to an agreement. And using African philosophies, they were able to do that. So we all know the word Ubuntu. I am because we are. There's another African social development philosophy called Indaba. Indaba says that community is the basis for human flourishing. And also the way in which individuals can be respectfully heard. And so those two philosophies are the bedrock of what we're trying to do with Emputano, both on the, well, Emputano is a platform, both sides. So with that, there is so much functionality to the platform. You know, I think someone, if it was you that mentioned about succession planning, you know, giving over to young people. The platform will allow us to identify who are the leaders in our community and then deliberately put them in positions where their leadership grows, where they can be mentored. And we'll do that automatically because the system will just simply allow people to bubble to the surface, right? There's gamification, there is, oh my gosh, there's so many things I'm drawing a blank right now. But join Emputano, the two sides just go in and participate. No opinion is worthless. Everybody's opinion is valuable, and we can all contribute to the development of our communities across Canada. And remember, think one more vision I'll put into your mind. 3-4 years down the road, we've got 375,000 people on the platform. I don't know if Dr. Justin Pierre is online or not, but for those of you who know who he is, he's doing a lot of work right now in trying to gather, doing analysis and doing surveys among Black businesses and just Black Canadians alone. His sample sizes, like most other researchers, are anywhere from 1,500 to maybe 3,000, on the outside 5,000. Can you imagine what we can do when we can do a survey of 300,000 people? And how we can slice and dice that information, how we can feed his data warehouse, how we can then take that and do what no one else can do. So to end, I'll say this. Emputano facilitates the digital neighborhood, which we do not have in the physical realm. And as a digital platform, we are able to do things that we couldn't do within a physical neighborhood. So with that, I'll end. And I know we've got a lot more to do, and we're going to use that. Go ahead. Question?
About the damage that has. Are we minimizing the damage that may have been done, or has been done, or is still being done? And do we need to address that? I mean, is this something in terms of trauma? You know, Bob Marley sang long ago, "Free ourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind." But like yourself, like you started off, you never really said how. Right? Is this something that we need to address the community, or are we just glossing over it? Because it keeps coming up again and again when we get compared to other communities. I know it's a tough question.
No, actually, it's a very straightforward question, because my concern has been, and always been, how do we actually have that conversation? How? Are we going to hold town hall meetings, and for the next 3 years, we're going from one community to the next community? How are we going to coalesce all the ideas and the strategies about how we do that? So to answer your question, are we glossing over it? Maybe, but we've never had a conversation about it. Yeah, and so my passion is facilitating the conversation, right? Because we can't do it manually. We can't do it over Zoom. We don't have time. So we can have that conversation. As a matter of fact, I would even challenge you and invite you and encourage you to join the platform and to actually put that question up and say, let's have a conversation. There is no cost on the platform at this point in time. The reality is we don't have any funding. Joe talked about how much money is put in. I've put in tens of thousands of dollars into this project out of my own pocket. It's unsustainable. So at some point, we're going to have to have some kind of a revenue stream. And there are a couple of ways that we're thinking about that. But for right now, we're trying to just build user base, get the conversation going. You know, we may ask folks, hey, give us the user fee. And it's going to be that really, really expensive $2 a month. You know, something as simple as that. But the reality is, one of the ways in which we grow our dignity is if we build ourselves instead of always going, give me, hand me, give me, give me, give me. Grants are great, but at some point we gotta take money out of our own pocket. Right. All right. So right now. I think it serves
from everyone. Parents. All the different contributing factors. Parenting, with parenting is biological reality, it's also a skill, right? We're not proving successful at the skill of parenting, right? Because that's where the true success is. That's the first line of intervention. You know, when I work with these people, who I trust, I will tell you, most of them are from single
parent homes of Black mothers and the average age of expectation for them to be contributing to the breadwinning of the home is 11 years old. Right? So to your point about somebody mentioned youth, it's not youth, it's mindset. So we talk about age versus stage. You can be 40 years old. If you've been on the block hustling, you're still 18 in your mentality. So we have to look at ourselves in an isolated model. We are not the same as the rest of Canada. I just came back from Nova Scotia yesterday morning, and Black Nova Scotians feel different than they think Black Ontarians feel. And I'm arguing, no, it's not different, right? There are nuances, but the common denominators are the same. The fact is, and I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again, the establishment does not want to give up any of their equity for us. So we have to do it ourselves. Schooling, banking, health, and food sustainability.
Absolutely.
So much for that part.
And as you mentioned sustainability, I want to mention Emoji. That's been the brainchild and hard passion, of Akin and Nicole. That is one example of something that is so important to our community in general, but yet is struggling to find engagement, right? Because we don't have the mindset, we don't quite understand. And really, that's what Emputano is all about. It is about creating the solid ground on which everything can be built. And by building everything on that platform, we have automatic exposure, automatic conversation. You can't escape it. It's there. So for me, it has always been about how. How do we actually do the things we are talking about? Facilitate.
One good point, how is great. The why. The how. The why is the right? So I know you always say the how. People just do it without reality. But the person that's wearing an ID, why? That's how you know. For real ones that the work, the mentality has to be addressed. And then the how has to be addressed. We don't have the why yet. And Steve Jobs was all about the why. We respect him, right? We don't have not found the why. Why should we look at this? Because now that we have how, it's all about why. But the beautiful thing, but still needs to be involved. So the blueprint, stating people. You can do certain that, but you still need our. So I'll segue to that, and then there's a couple in the room that didn't want to talk about this project. We'll do that at the next break. So we'll go to the break, and let's get to that. Yeah. Good? Okay. And if we we'll go down. Go ahead.
It's really about the fact that every time I'm in one of these groups, I remind me like, hey, the real goal. Contribution. One, there's no smart answer or unsmart answer. We're just expressing feelings and thoughts on a topic. That's one. Two, I would say, let's not try to solve anything today. Let's try and introduce and get out of our chests how we feel and put it out onto paper. Third, the goal is to leave here feeling really good and to feel energized and great. And then, as we typically do in great fashion, we testify. Right? Speak to others, talk to others, and let's start these conversations outside this room and tomorrow and the next day. Today, we want to talk about 4 specific topics: economics, health, education, and justice. Those in Zoom will be split into breakout rooms. Everybody will get a chance to put their point of view on these topics. And it's a simple exercise that doesn't even involve talking. It's going to be so cute. So a piece of paper like this will be on a table, or you'll have your breakout room will have the mirror boards. And what you're going to do if you're physically standing in front of a blank piece of paper is you're going to take a position where it's blank and you're going to write down your thought on that topic of what is needed from our community to make it better. And you're just going to write it down. Then you're going to move to the next position and you're going to look at what the person already wrote. And now you're going to come up with another idea. The key is if it's already down, you're not going to write it again. So as you walk around, your mind is going to be explored because reading somebody else's opinion might then remind you of something, and so on and so on. And we'll do that, and then we'll move to another table, and then we'll move to another table, and so on. And we'll take a small break at some point, and we'll get back to anybody else who wants to speak of their particular platform or had anything to add to the group. Does that sound good for everyone? Okay, great. Internal here. I think you can introduce. Why do I have the phone?
Yes, this is our mic. So now, those that are online can hear us a bit better, and it can be verified. Just make sure that people can hear us well. So online, we're going to be having the same breakout rooms. We're using a platform called Mural to capture thoughts, and that's actually where this information is going to be transcribed to there and then brought into Mkatano and the discourse. So everything that, a lot of times I go to a lot of these meetings and a lot of research and a lot of community surveys, and then the information just seems to disappear. So we want to make sure that we capture your thoughts and then use a long-term platform like Mkatano so that we can keep the conversation going for the rest of the year and onwards. So looking forward to whatever table you're at now, you can just kind of turn around, either one's behind you or one might be in front of you. Yes, and then Zoom, we're going to support you to get them up to go. Yeah. No. All right, everyone. So we are going to open the breakout rooms. You can actually select which breakout room you want to go into first. So you'll see there's 4 rooms. There's economics, health, education, and justice. And then based on the room that we go into, we're going to go onto the mural and be able to capture our thoughts. We shall see soon. The link to the mural is in the chat, and we're also going to put the link inside of the breakout rooms as well. All right, so feel free to pick a room. Oh, actually, I think it's going to assign you after a certain amount of time. If you haven't picked one, you will just filter into a room. All right. Okay, so if you don't, and if there's a room that interests you more, you can definitely shift over to that room after. All right, perfecto. Thank you, thank you. All right, we'll see you in there. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, there we go. Wow. Just.
Hey guys, I'm just listening in on the side. I see there's 6 of us here, but I didn't join a group, so I'm just kind of waiting for everyone to come together. I'm not so sure if anyone is still in the group. Hey, Peter. Peter.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, Peter Blake here.
Hi, Peter Blake. It's Jackie Cassandi. Are we just waiting for people to come back from the breakout rooms?
Okay. And
I don't know. I'm asking you.
no, what I'm saying that I spoke to Ryan and he said
Uh-huh.
that I spoke to Ryan, one of the hosts, and he said I should choose a topic, right? So I choose probably wealth. And then he said, you know, I can write some stuff on wealth creation, right?
Yeah.
And so I did, you know, I did type wealth creation in the Black community for the future generation, an example, chat GTP and all of that, right? So I want to open up a conversation of what others have, you know, to explore the topic, what other ideas of what others have to for future wealth creation, right? In the digital world, right? Digital new economy, right?
Right. So now, are the other people in groups having these conversations?
I think there was around 8 different topics: family, justice, health, wealth,
okay,
community organizing. So everyone has different topics. So I jump on this one first, right?
Yeah.
And I type, you know, what I type a while ago. So I'm just opening up the conversation, right? Where others may see my information and want to explore more with the topic, right? Or add more.
Right. Yeah.
Diversify the topic.
Okay. So that's interesting because I told Ryan I'd be doing two things at the same time as I'm listening on to this.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't gonna do any breakout rooms because I can't focus because I'm doing two things. I have a store on Granville Island. So I wasn't so sure if this was a breakout room on the side until people come back from the breakout rooms.
Well,
so that's what I was asking.
I think we're still in it or people are back right now. I think I should actually check and see if people are coming back because it's a little while now, right? So
it's been a while.
Yeah, my son Prince, let's get back to the main room then.
Okay, let me see how to get back. Is it gonna take us back to the main room?
I think by now people are supposed to be gathering back and says thank you everyone. I have to jump out for a bit. Yeah. I think people are getting back because breakout room they give you a certain time, right? Like a few minutes.
Yeah.
For you to come up with whatever. Let's get back to the main and see if they put it back to the main room, Prince.
Okay, all right. I'll just wait here. I'll go off of video for a second.
The breakout. There's a lot of different topics, so a lot of people may not be in each room, or probably people leaving from the room, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to get back to the main room.
I was just a bit confused on that. That's why I was asking you.
The breakout room always kind of sometimes because of communication get me.
Yeah.
You just left your room.
I just left my room. I'm back into the main room.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so.
Oh, okay. So we'll just wait here for the people to come back into the main room. All right.
Okay, so I will just wait, and then I did one topic. As I said, I wrote something on one topic, and if they ask me to go back again, then I will go to a different topic.
Okay, perfect.
Or I may join others with their topic because sometimes the breakout room can have communication and technology issues. You break away and come back, right?
Yes, yes.
Breakout room always like a challenging.
It always is. That's why I was so confused where I was. But okay, so I'm gonna go off video and just put myself on mute, and then we'll just wait for everyone to come back in.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Prince King. With the main room. I think we should go back to the main one right now. I think most likely they're back to the main one right now.
You are in the main room.
Oh no. So go back to breakout one more time there. If they
You are in the main room.
What I'm saying is that maybe we should go back to breakout. I don't see nobody.
Hey everyone. So we're just wrapping up our thoughts. So we're gonna get back to the main group. So we can just kind of maybe take a 5-minute break so you can relax a bit, and then we're gonna come back together.
Are doing in terms of so that's the digital age, but to go to the next level, the adaptation into artificial intelligence, into space age. If there's no Black presence, this will just contribute to dominate us for the 22nd, the 21st century to come. Basically, we will be the most numerous, but we will still be dominated due to lack of knowledge adapted in growing up communities.
So much.
Sure. Yeah, and then I would just like to add to that in terms of you talked about financial literacy, but there's also financial retention and building that retention through our both individuals themselves and sharing their business and sharing the wealth that we have together.
I will also add to all those things the need for community of practice in educating our entrepreneurs, our business leaders, because in this part of the world, there are a lot of requirements that we need to meet up with when it comes to governance and accounting and so on and so forth about running businesses. So I think we need a community of practice on that to get educated. That's for the entrepreneurs.
I also wanted to add that in terms of building Black wealth intergenerationally, that entrepreneurship should not be an option. It should actually be something that's streamlined in a way through curriculum for Black children, that everyone has entrepreneurial skills, whether it's in building the businesses, because when they do work for other people, intrapreneurship is also valued. That's how people move up to the C-suite, right? So making that as part of that rite of passage, that every Black child, by the time you're done with elementary schools, you understand the basics of entrepreneurship, accounting, taxation, financial literacy, just that it's a core part of who they're being. That I think will be.
I would like to say my own comment that I would add in this area is that I took an international finance class. I'm sure one or two of you in the room have heard this already, but to my dismay, I tell you, is when I had to sit in this international finance class. I was the only Black person in the class. I think it was an advanced class at York. And they showed a map of the whole world, and they started to talk about the financial wealth of the world. And they had these little dots showing where it's more or less. Not one traditionally Black diaspora was chosen. I looked at the teacher, I said, really? I said, not one? You know his response, and he wasn't being kind or unkind, he was just being factual. He said, perhaps if I was to put all of them together, you might make up 0.1%. I said, okay, I understand. So one of my visions I would love to see for economics, I think it's really paramount that we all start to adopt one currency. So easily could we make a bigger dent if how we agree on what that one currency is, I do not know, but it's something that we need to do, I would think.
Can I say something?
Somebody has a comment.
Yeah,
online.
Sorry. Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, this is Peter Blake. And echo. Okay. Talk about supporting Black-owned business. It could start there, where the local community make a conscious decision to support their own local Black-owned business first. And as you know, in the Black community, we always spreading our wealth all over the place, whether in the real estate, You know, some people may talk about is the customer service or client service, but of course, there's other real estate that is Black that if you have a bad experience with one, you can always change to another one or try some others, right? But it's a conscious decision. I was at meetings and there, even with my son, meeting in school, and I noticed there was like a Black, dentist. And of course, I didn't know where that dentist was. I didn't know aware of him, but now that I know there's a Black dentist in my community meeting or in my discussion forum, I said, well, I have to try out this dentist. So I consciously, transfer my file over to that Black dentist. All right. In that way, that Black dentist will have more clients and can have a dental office in the East End and the West End. I look at it from a bigger picture. All right. So, and I was saying that you're going to change out all of your accounts and all your transactions because, a lot of businesses are relational. You get real good support or good treatment, you will, stay, and right? You will buy into the business. But for the Black economy to move forward, we all have to consciously make that effort to, share some of the, the agencies that we use or some of the services that we use, whether doctors, dentists, mechanics. It should be consciously done. And that's the only way to lift us up, economically, even Canada or, globally. So just a conscious decision. And once I know and I'm aware of who is out there doing this kind of service and I may need you, real estate is the same thing. Look at it this way. Most owning a home probably is the biggest wealth creation that we as Black people or working class can ever attain. And if we're going to give our support and buy houses or, our agents are from other community, I think therefore they would get, you just passing on your wealth to another community, building up their real estate agencies or real estate or realtors. We should all use a conscious decision to support our Black businesses and Black professionals first. Because other communities are doing it. We're the only one that doing it, and it works as a disadvantage against us.
Thanks so much for that, Peter. I will say one thing, I don't comment on people's comments, but I will say this. In terms of real estate being our highest form of financial literacy, everything that you mentioned is addressed in coming together in these apps, are the two features that we've shown today. Kotano is a group place for us to voice our opinions. Real Ones is a group place for us to be aware of the other businesses. But when it comes term to what would be our highest financial step that we could make, we really have to look at group purchasing and being able to buy, while one or two people have a house, imagine if all of us were pulling $10,000 together every year and we were buying buildings and we were, buying islands, right? I have to laugh now because while we're buying houses, people are buying islands. While they're buying islands, people are buying countries, so.
That's a good way.
All right. So that's exactly what Pamoja is about. The word Pamoja itself means togetherness in Swahili. So about 2 years ago, 35 of us came together and we purchased 100 acres of farmland.
Yeah.
Black owned, 100% Black owned. The idea is when after George Floyd and COVID incident and all that, discussing with a couple of people within the community, I was like, wait a minute, it's hard to get food. Sometimes as Black folks, we go to like grocery stores and we're trying to purchase like a bag of rice. They say, oh, there's only one bag left. And you see other communities go into the same grocery store and walk out with a bag of rice. Then I'm saying to myself, as a people, we don't know where our food comes from. Food sovereignty, food security, big issue. We go to other people to buy our food, right? Calories of the vegetables that we love. We go to the Chinese people to buy it.
And we buy our mangoes from China.
We buy our mangoes from China. You know, and I'm like, there are less than 2% black farmers in Canada. It's ridiculous. So at least let's pull our resources together, purchase farmland, right? And grow our own food, at least. It's the least we can do, right? So right now we have the land, but obviously, like every other startup business, we need the funds to, you know, to pay out the mortgage. We don't want to be paying monthly mortgages to banks that are not owned by us. So with $780,000 mortgage, 78 of us with $800 a month can pay that off in a year. Just 78 of us can pay that off in a year. What are we doing? This 100 acres is right there in Kawasa Lakes. It's like less than 2 hours from Toronto. We cannot drive there. We can pay it off. It's owned by us. Whatever we want to grow there, we can grow there, right? It's a starting point. And the other thing is, PCIFDC is a cooperative. The reason why we set it up as a cooperative is because after discussing with lawyers, they said, you know, you're limited to 50 shares in Canada as a private company. So you can't sell shares, you know, unless you have $1 million and you're registered with the Security Exchange Commission. So I said, this is a red tape, right? But I went back to what our ancestors were doing. Susu in Haiti, Patna in Jamaica, I'm Yoruba from Nigeria. We do Ajo. We pull our resources together, right? That's how our ancestors built kingdoms, nations. You see what I mean? So that's what Pamoja is all about. We're just pulling our resources together. We have shares because we have unlimited number of shares. But for this specific project, we issued out 500 shares because all the members voted 500 shares. Each share is going for about 3,500. You have a payment plan. The funds, everything is transparent, 100% transparent. We've joined Zoom meetings where we've logged onto the bank accounts. More than 2 people have access to the bank account. You can see where all the funds are going. Again, we have the land. We've purchased the land already. I was speaking to Ryan a couple of months ago, and he showed me the picture of the city of Brampton, right? The town of Brampton, right? Was a farmland a couple of years ago. Today, look at Brampton. She was born in Brampton. I remember coming to Brampton in, 2003, thereabout. My neighbor on the right, my neighbor on the left, they were all white people. Then I saw my neighbor on the right listing and selling. I said, brother, where are you going? He said, I'm moving to Georgetown. Why are you moving to Georgetown? My community have a call for all of us to move to Georgetown. We are reinventing the wheel. We don't have to, right? We are asking the why, the how. Look, let's learn from these guys. The Indians came here and they own Brampton now. They didn't have to build anything, but they bought together. They moved together. They move in together. So we can find an area we can all move to and start buying. Sell your properties and buy there. If you buy, I buy. Everybody in here, we buy. Guess what? The next generation, we're going to have mayors that are black. We're going to have police officers that are black. We're going to have teachers that are black. Then we can go to the school and say, cool, we want you to change your curriculum. Teach our children about Africa. Right? But now we can't do it. When she's living in Markham, I'm living in Richmond Hill, somebody else is living in Brampton. What I mean, our resources are not together. We're not pulling our resources together. So let's start by doing that. Yeah.
One quick addition to what Akin was saying. We have something we call the Pamoja maneuver. And the Pamoja maneuver allows businesses, for-profit businesses, to buy 1 or more shares at $3.5K, then use that share in your marketing strategies, in your marketing plan. When you do that, that $3.5K now becomes a expense to your company. It's a marketing expense. So it doesn't cost you, the company, anything because you write it off, right? 100%. And then Pamoja gets the revenue. So our goal is for everyone who owns a for-profit company, buy 1 share, use it in your marketing plan, If we can get 100 people, 100 companies to do that this year, we've got $350,000, half of what that mortgage is, and it doesn't cost the company anything. It's just a marketing strategy.
And this is by no means a downer. All you've shared is brilliant, and our people have been doing it since the abolition of slavery, right? But the why is still not answered. We need to know in ourselves as individuals why we find it difficult, right? And almost insurmountable or insurmountably difficult to step across that line and say yes. And that's the part. Now, as a continental African, you may not be able to identify with that. I'm saying that respectfully, right? But as a Caribbean who's a denounced Caribbean, like I've denounced my Caribbean heritage for that specific reason. No, I'm not. It's true. I changed my name to an Igbo name, etc. I did that intentionally because I know that the psychological chains of colonization and slavery, right, are debilitating. For me, who is I've been working for myself since I was 15 years old, my friend, right? So I'm telling you this: the people I work with who are of our skin and not necessarily of our kin because of their blockages, right, cannot fathom the 35. I only heard part of it because I have to go deal with something with my colleague there, right? But that $3,500 that seems like a simple process to Patrick and yourself and your lovely wife, etc. It's a mountain, psychological mountain to climb over. So the why is still not answered. I really believe we have to focus on the why.
After my gift, that's why I always why don't we trust each other?
Yeah, yeah,
that's it.
You know,
we get over them. We know we don't have 100%. We know we have trust issues. We don't have. Jessica Nemhard talked about our trust issues when we did the right? She wrote the book Collective Courage, which is about collective cooperative, right? But it has to be a recognized, to Patrick's point, a recognized common need, right? We watch ourselves dying on the street. We watch ourselves incarcerated. We watch ourselves committing suicide. We still have not yet found that collective peace. And to your point, Patrick, earlier, one last point. The other ethnic groups have it's not an intentional common denominator. Right? I live in AJAC. AJAC is becoming very similar transformation as Brampton went through. Right? I go to the gym and there's 70% South Asians in the gym. Right? So I was telling you, but I talked to them. And I was saying to somebody, there's a Greek restaurant called the Greek Freak in the AJAC. It's all run by Indians. So I went there the other day because I thought it was the same guy from before. So good, right? I said, oh, where's the guys that were here before? Oh, they have another location somewhere else. I said, you guys are doing the Greek? They're the same now. He said, yes, and it's the staff, 5 of them are in there, right? But what they're not, I said, do you guys recognize your growth in Ajax? He goes, what do you mean? The young guy, right? What do you mean? Because I wanted us was conscious, right? And he said, oh, I said, when did you move to Ajax? He said, 2 years ago. I said, why did you move to Ajax? Oh, my cousins were here. You see what I'm saying? Right? So they do it organically. But we don't do that because when we, if I ask generally, anonymously, what are the black neighborhoods in Toronto? They're going to say Jane Finch, Malvern, Galloway, Regent Park, Parkdale. It's all the neighborhoods that are considered to be of highest risk. Because our PR sucks as a people. That's the problem. So, so I'm just saying, we gotta the why is bigger than the how. The how we know.
Hi, you guys. Hi. Sorry. We may never agree. We may never agree on everything. And again, what I love is the passion that comes out of collective thinking. So what I'd love to see is a commitment. Sometimes there won't be a platform, but every time you're in a room and you meet like-minded people, create your spaces. We have to start having dinner conversations. We have to start having weekend conversations. You know, find your tribe within the big tribe and expand these conversations. Yeah, I was about to say, Erica's had her hand up for a while. Let's just take a comment from Erica, and then I'll come back to you, Miss.
Hi, thank you. Back to
1 second. Let me just make sure I can get you on for everybody to hear. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my comment goes to the cooperation, and some of you know I do a lot of event production, been involved with music festivals, and I think sometimes a missed opportunity in terms of sharing is getting a couple of businesses together to do a booth at a festival, because you're supporting the festival, which is the cultural component, and then sometimes a booth might be too expensive for one person, right? So consider, this is where that networking comes in. Consider partnering with someone else if the festival allows, because some have contracts where you can't share a booth. And that way you're both maximizing the experience. You're covering the staffing, because while one of you can cover the other person while the other one walks around and networks. So there's a great networking opportunity, and sharing the resources and supporting that cultural organization that is putting on the festival and the community that it supports. So that was, that's where I really wanted to, and also with food trucks, but also looking at how those booths are done. I've been at this for a long time. I've seen people show up, but they don't quite look like they're ready or they know what they're doing. And that doesn't look good for the business. It doesn't look good for the organization. But when you do these events, try to come together and do the best that you can and have that knock them out customer service, so that the people will want to come back and support your business and keep supporting the event that's hosting. So I just wanted to say about sharing.
All right, thanks, Erica. Lena, did you want to give your thoughts?
So I just want to share two ideas. I have a 9-year-old granddaughter who has started a business with her classmates. It's fascinating to hear them talk about how they're going to price their goods. I don't interfere. I pick them up after school and I engage them. So they're making these bracelets and they're deciding, do we sell 3 for $5, 1 for $50? It's interesting. So if you encourage your kids to start thinking that way and creating these little businesses, they can grow up to be entrepreneurs. And Blacks have bought buildings. As I've met them, it doesn't always last. And that's the challenge. So how do we learn from the past and continue to do these things? So yes, it's happening.
Thank you. All right. I know we were on economics for a minute there, so let me just jump into sharing the next section. I know online we did have some comments around health was only one. Yeah, I think you'll put in investment in Black health centers, encourage the younger generation to get into health career fields, supports for Black age homes and Black old age homes and shelters for elderly and the sick. So we did have a form as well. Did you want to read some of those?
And what I think is interesting about Yule's comment, and as many know in the room, we all know how many people here in the room don't have a family doctor, but you did before COVID, and then you got kicked off of your family doctor. But this shortage of doctors now tells us anytime there's a shortage, we have an opportunity to reoccupy a space and even dominate. Because one thing that we were a lot before were RNs, and now RNs have different, they're almost moving into the doctor space. So here's another opportunity to get back some people that understand our bodies in health. Some other comments here are women in particular are under-medicated due to the existing belief that Black people are subhumans. So in other words, we need more healthcare professionals that understand our bodies and our issues, our eating habits, where we come from. I remember once I heard a friend of mine talk about eating for your blood type. Right, our blood type is so, you're right, and our blood type, who's it being studied by, right? The same people that discredited us once upon a time. So we have to be weary of who we bring our health. Women's health, prenatal, community-based postnatal care, more awareness about the Canadian Black Healthcare Professionals Network. Does everybody know that that network now exists? So there's actually a group that came together. Maybe Ryan can show the online post in a minute. but they're called the Canadian Black Healthcare Professionals Network. I'm not sure if they're fully launched yet. I know they had their get together and their meeting. There's definitely a website, and they're asking healthcare professionals to onboard. If you know healthcare professionals, please do remind them that there is now a Canadian Black Healthcare Professional Network, and they should register. BPHN, right? Thanks so much. So look for BPHN, and anybody you know who's a doctor or a nurse or in the healthcare, let them know. Fundamentally, we need to re-embrace eldership. I agree. They say black doesn't crack, and I so agree. But we all know where we're ending to, right? At some point, we're going to be there. And so talking about, I find in our community, I've experienced, both my parents have passed. I know about Alzheimer's, dementia. I think that's going to be big. And the great thing is we don't necessarily put our elder in homes. However, we're here now. A lot of you, I think another issue is going to be people my age who have children to care for and aging parents. This is a huge area, and you're going to need support in those areas. I can tell you it's really hard to hold down a career and be there for a parent that's dying at the same time. So this is a big area that we're going to need to support one another. Anybody else have comments for healthcare or similar experiences?
I just wanted to add that there's a lady, Esther Yolu, who set up a couple of cooperatives. And the reason why that is important is that one of them is really for health, like registered nurses and people in the health sector. And we would need to support people like that more and more to build out cooperatives where we're getting groups of healthcare providers at the community levels, creating their own business entities, and they're not doing it individually, or they're not working for the system, right? Because when you're in the system, it's also limited what Black healthcare, what they can do. So getting into the business of health is also important, right? Beyond just the traditional what exists, like us owning and controlling those healthcare systems. Thank you.
That reminds me too, the tools and the diagnostics, are we developing those? Because, you know, we are the doctors and the scientists. It's about mostly everything.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, for the health sector, we could invest more, explore more herbal health products that are helpful. Add that to the pharmaceutical. Pardon me? Yes. Exactly. We need to go back to basics and remember that we do have plant medications and do a lot of exploration in that and see how we can help our Black community to heal from that.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but I know for sure that I didn't grow up on aspirin or Tylenol when I had a headache, not even one for kids. My parents did either salt, soft candles.
Right. I just had a quick comment just to kind of add on to what you were saying, because it's good that we know about sea moss and avocado now, especially because sea moss is a huge, fad, so to speak. Everyone's talking about it. But I think the education of these herbal things, even within our own communities, is very important, because you'd be surprised. I was in St. Vincent, and moringa is growing like a weed, and they don't even touch it because they don't know that that is a super healer. Or I was in Tanzania, where I could literally swim on a beach, and I was making my own sea moss gel. They had no idea what this was, but they were picking it, giving it to somebody else, and they were shipping it out and making money. And these people are have no iron. That's the perfect solution for your iron problem, is what's in your water that you're shipping to somewhere else. So even people in their own countries walk by these things and have no idea what it can do, how it can help them, but the people making money know about it, and it's right in our backyard. So just the education piece is a huge, huge thing as well.
Right.
Yeah. We have to acknowledge indigenous people, us as Africans, as indigenous North Americans, etc. This is somewhat of a stretch, but it's real. None of us in here go to the CN Tower every week, but when our relatives come, we go, because it's a landmark, right? You don't value the things that are around you in that way from an indigenous perspective. You live amongst and you're part of.
The commercialized perspective comes from a greedy, Eurocentric lens. That's what we have to recognize. That's why everybody else sees the value of us, Africa, case in point right now, and well, for the last however long, but right now in particular, people are recognizing the fact that, first of all, we are the youngest people on the planet. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, right? So if you're the youngest people on the planet, your trajectory is greater than those who are older than you. The average African person is, I think it's 29.6 years old, right? The average Caucasian is 44 years old, right? So those 15 point whatever years, right, represent opportunity because things like AI infused into the model put you on an even playing field, just like the internet did in music, right? And just like cell phones did to landline technology. All the countries, how many of you, well, I'm older than everybody in the room. Besides Patrick. Patrick's 10 years older than me. But, and Rob's my age, right? But who remembers back in the...
I need laughing at you.
Yeah. But the point being, sorry for my back, by the way, both of you. But I remember when my mom used to try and call her sister in Trinidad on Christmas and couldn't get through the phone line. You remember those days? Right? And then all those countries that were quote unquote developing leapt over landline technology and went to cell phone technology to the point where many of them had 1.4 phones per person. Right? So the same thing happens with the value that we find in ourselves. Like watermelon, or the sweet potato, all this slop food they gave us as slaves, right, are now delicacies or have properties that they've recognized and now they market it back, and we're the first ones buying it. From, like, you know what I'm saying? So, or not, exactly, in your example. So, again, I go back to the why, right? And I was stuck on the why. How is already there.
I think that was criminalized dominance, racism. Would that be the why? Yeah. Because people may be of our color, but not of our kind. That we know that too. Yeah. Our diverse African Canadian communities are not yet ready to address the why.
Exactly.
You know, I'm going to throw out a why. Again, I was trying to just leave this as comment-based, but here's my why, okay? So sometimes you get comfortable. Okay, so after a struggle, you get comfortable. After I run a 10-meter race, I want to sit down. Okay, so we were devastated. There was a time when we just weren't treated right, and that time just ended. It's only been about 60 years, right? So, and about 400 years or more, we were persecuted. 60 years now, and here's where we are today. I will say this, though, that we take for granted. So look at me, for instance. I'm Canadian, born here. And I insisted that my parents did not feed me Black food. Why? Because they used to send me to school. The first time they sent me to school with a lunchbox with all the, Black Caribbean presidents. All the other kids were over my shoulder. I was the only Black kid in class. And they were just, what's that? What's that? And I had stuff like blogger, bread pudding. I had I had stuff in there, right? So I told my parents, I just want my lunch money. I want to buy my own lunch. This body was occupied by Canadian food until I was about 20-something, 30-something. And jerk chicken is what actually made me fall back in love with Caribbean food. I'll just tell you that I might have a bit of a curb to myself now. If somebody looked at me and looked at another Black woman, the first thing they're going to say, why is your butt so flat? How come this? There is distinct differences. And I was thinking about it the other day in the room, that I only have curves now because I eat West Indian food. I didn't have curves before because I eat Canadian food. And it reminded me that the things that make us our superpower, we might take it for granted, but we will lose our superpowers if we don't go back to them, right? And the way we eat is one of them. The way we don't over-medicate ourselves is another one. Any other comments?
What's the what? Oh, no, let me go after. Yeah, but then you have to ask the question again. So, thank you. One of the things thinking of too, like you said, or that. And when you think about our physical makeup, of course, we're all from the same strain. But when you look at, I don't like the term Black, even though I'm from the Caribbean. I'd rather be from Africa. You know what I'm saying? So think about our bodies. Think about where we're from. The way our forefathers ate. The way we eat now in a Eurocentric environment works against our bodies. You know what I'm saying? So
we have to go back to that stone where we eat like who we are, right? We've been brainwashed for so many years about so many different things. We don't think like who we're supposed to be thinking. And if you think about it, 95% of whatever it is that they think they know and they think they developed all came before the Ptolemaic era. Black man, the Africans. That's where it all started, right? The Garden of Eden was in Africa. Where else could you run around naked on this planet? You go into Europe, you come into Canada, can you walk around naked? No. All right, but I think I've said a little bit too much, but for thought, guys.
Thank you.
The way you put the Garden of Eden, I never put a thought into it. But when you think about it,
So really quick in the political section, we talked about more political input and expression, understanding which political leaders are supporting the Black community, and invite them to Black events to boost support, more Black representation, encourage younger generations to become more politically vested and educated as a career path. All right. So I know health, we did touch on one. Yeah, we didn't do politics here. Okay. Oh, we did health already. Okay. Oh. We have an Oops. All right. Oh, Justice, there was nothing online. Do you want to touch on what we had here?
Who was the last ones in the justice group? Who finished their time in that room over there?
I think I did.
Okay. Do you guys remember the topics on justice?
No.
Not one voice. Let's go.
All right.
Meeting stood out.
Well, one of the items around justice that Farley emphasized was how in the formal review, and maybe you should talk about it. Go ahead. Where they think it's a lower percentage.
Okay, yeah. So I just came back literally from the Justice Network conference in Halifax, like yesterday morning.
Mention just what you do a little bit too.
Oh, sure. So one of the things I do is run an agency with my business partner, Roderick Brereton, called Urban Res Solutions. The name speaks to where we reside and also our work with the Indigenous communities in Canada. But one of our streams is in the justice arena. We have curriculum in 14 correctional facilities across the country, juvenile and adult, and geographically Ontario and Nova Scotia. And the intent is to grow. So anyway, that's what took us to the Justice Network event in Halifax this past Thursday and Friday. And one of the professors who did some data research in 2013 talked about the recommendations that they made and that none of the recommendations were even remotely addressed, right? Jewish doctor. Right. His research is available online. His name is Dr. Zinger, spelled like it sounds. Then now he's this coming November or October 31st. He has the second one due, and I was talking to him just about the PR around it, and if the communities that are affected by these things are not part of the narrative, he's going to have a difficult time getting any action. Right? So anyway, in that discussion, or in his presentation actually, he talked about the incarceration rate for people of African descent being 9.5% population-wise, or per capita-wise, and for and our population being, as Patrick said earlier, somewhere it hovers between 4 and 5%, depending on whose stats you look at. So double our population. But the reality is, the work we do, and Glenn Roy, who was here earlier, he's our workforce development manager at Urban Res, who's just, I think he's gone now. we know that when we're in Collins Bay, which is in Kingston, the percentage of black men in there is hovering around 65-70%, I believe the number is. We know that in Roy McMurtry, which is right up just north of here, there are 78 young men in there, 72 are black. We know that Warkworth, Beaver Creek, and then going out to the East Coast, Atlantic, Dorchester, Spring Hill, et cetera, are all north of 60 and up to 90%. Into like Toronto South and Toronto East detention centers, which is the remand centers for folks waiting for sentencing, are up in the 80s and up as well. So what we were talking about is how these actual numbers have to be told for us to, like the way you got, I look at your faces, y'all nodding, and you're like, oh my God. Like, so when you minimize it down, because the reason he got it down to, and he didn't do this intentionally, he just included Alberta, Manitoba, and so that's Saskatchewan. The only thing black you can find in Saskatchewan is the roads on a rainy day, right? Like to some extent. Like there's just not enough of us out there to even include in the data because it skews the data so much, right? So we have to do it geographically and specific to where we live as a people. But the adjunct thought to that was the fact that we have such a high percentage of our black men in particular, black women overrepresented as well, but our black men in particular that are incarcerated cannot contribute effectively to their households and their communities. So when we want to slap colonization in the face, which is what I live to do, right? You have to do the opposite of what your oppressor has done to you. Simple as that. So if you want us to be, double-digit fathers, right, then we got to manage that. If you want us to drop out of school, we have to do the opposite of that. If you want us to be, like, in the school part, if you want us to be miseducated, we have to educate our own. If you're going to over-medicate our women, right, we have to have our own health system. The Chinese community, I don't know, this is my last point. Does anybody know the Chinese community has 3 police stations in Toronto, right? Their own, not part of TPS. No, they're private. Their own, they're privatized, right? So when you don't see Chinese people be getting arrested on the news, right? It's not because they're good people. They commit the same crimes. They police themselves. They commit the same crimes that black people commit, right? They have poverty, which is closely allocated with crime, but they police themselves. Absolutely. If you go to the Bedside, the Jews have their own police station there, right? So these are the kind of things when somebody mentioned replicating the behaviors of other cultures. I can't think was it Rob? Yeah, these are kind of things I like to hear that we're doing, right? Because the South Asian population is, and we had a great conversation about this too, but the fact that there's a Greek restaurant in Ajax that's now run by South Asians, and I had gone there in the transition. I knew the Greek guys, and then I went the other day and I saw the South Asian guys, and I said, when did this happen? He said, oh, those guys have another place out in so and so, and I said, are you guys aware? Like, you guys are really emerging in Ajax, and they're oblivious to it. Like, so it's not conscious. It's subconscious and it's behavioral. And we have a little formula where we say an experience repeated becomes habit, habit repeated becomes behavior, behavior repeated becomes culture, and culture repeated becomes instinct, right? So they're just instinctively gravitating to where they know they represent. And lo and behold, my gym, and I have no issue with it. I grew up in diversity. But although I was like Lorraine, I was the only black kid in my class till grade 11, right? But that's the reality. So this is what I'm saying. When we talk about the why, right? The why has to be based on evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like when we look at Mondragon in Spain as a cooperative model, why did it work? Why was he able to? Why did Hitler work, for that matter? Hitler worked because he recognized a common denominator need and made everyone aware of it, and then he forced it into existence, right? We can say what we want about him, but his campaign was successful. The outcome wasn't, but the campaign itself was remarkably successful, right? I'm not denouncing yeah. What's our campaign? What is our campaign?
Can we look at the flip side of the why and the why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not is part of the why. We have to know the why and the why and the why not.
We want it for ourselves.
Yeah. Like you should have found 350 people as opposed to 35.
Yeah.
I know you are. I know you are. But you hear my point? Yeah, I understand. Statistically,
wanted to add to this conversation around the why, right? How it is important to have a compelling vision, right? Because when there's a huge compelling vision that's bigger than either of us individually, either of our, the ethnic groups or the countries, and it's overarching for all of us as a people, then you can stir people's hearts. Because all the how is intellectual, evidence is intellectual. We now have to go where we operate from as a people. We are heart-centric people. We're very emotional in even how we relate to one another, how we greet one another. We keep saying this narrative that we don't trust one another, and I always counter it. It's in which areas specifically don't we trust one another, right? So the stories that we tell ourselves matter. If someone were to drop dead now in the community, I don't need to know the person. I just need to know that a Black brother or an to my brother's point, an African, a Caribbean, someone that one of us has dropped dead, and we galvanize. We show up. We contribute, right? We look after the kids. We do all those things. If there's a party, we all show up. So we show up in the socialization, social, right? But the thing around money is that there's a trauma of economics in a capitalist system that reinforces it. And so the distrust keeps building up. But we can deconstruct that, again, with storytelling. For every story of no trust, it is now our responsibility in every room that we're in to give the stories of trust. It's a story. It's a story, right? The Jewish community, the Asian community, go into those communities. As a financial advisor, I work in those communities. They don't trust each other. They have, like, Italians have so many different groups, so many, like India now is burning in terms of all the different groups. Right. But the thing is this, is that when it comes to shared prosperity, they have told themselves the story of, we're not going to be poor. All the other problems we can deal with internally, but you see the problem of economics, we're going to counter it. We're going to be rich and fighting. We're going to be rich and doing all the bickering. That's the story we need to tell ourselves. And there are so many examples. Look beyond Canada. Look to where other African communities, even in the Caribbean, where people are coming together. Get those stories, mine them. We have to mine those stories. Quick example before I stop. Finally, one of the #1 movies on Netflix in the past couple of weeks, 3 weeks, is a Nigerian movie called The Black Book. That movie came about because a young guy decided to dream, to say, you know what, why are we not there? Right? And what did he do? He leaned on the cooperative model. Another young woman, Subomi Plumtree, put together a group, Volition Cat, a cooperative funding model, and said, Black people from all over, come invest with us, right? I have the designation in the US, I have this, we're going to do this. We need you people to pull the money together so that we can build one project at a time, as an example.
But why won't we?
But and that's what I'm saying, but she did it because she put it out there and people started investing. So what I'm saying is, it is happening. No. See, what I'm saying now is, the more you tell yourself the stories of what isn't, life is a self-fulfilling the more we begin to tell ourselves the stories of us coming together. Let me give an example again, the Susu model. A few years ago, Dr. Caroline Hussein got together a group of us, 10 women who have been doing partner Susu, Ajo, in different parts of Canada, and said, you know what, we need to make this thing institutionalized. She went to the Bank of Canada. Is this not legal? Why are people being, they go to the bank, they're asking them questions, where is the cash from? Is it money laundering? And she said, we've been approaching this because we like living in
as marginalized. The stories we're telling ourselves. Social model is the basis for venture capitalism, for crowdfunding, we need to dream big and take it and what she's doing. No, but here is the thing though. Here is the thing. The social model, let me use that as an example, is symbolic. That it's not just about money. It's about being able to rotate resources. If you don't have food, people are doing food contributions for community in our community. But nobody is talking about it. People are so we alone can tell this story. And you know what? It's a campaign. And I was telling you, Ryan, next year the bulk of what I'm going to is evangelism. We must evangelize a new narrative for ourselves. The same where we go to church, we have to go to the church of Black emancipation and tell ourselves new stories, because our stories will liberate us. You feed into the stories that you constantly listen to, and then you start acting that way. And then when people see enough example, it's a numbers game. 35 people, 35 here, the stories are different, in different places. Now we have Nkotano. Bring all the stories together. We are the businesses, put them together so that our dollars are going there. We must tell new stories. And look, we have to challenge counter narratives, because those stories are what others have been telling us. And it's not our real story. Tell ourselves new stories and we'll get it done. That's the only way.
But here's what I want to ask. I work within the hood, what people call the hood.
Yeah.
Right? Those stories are great. And I find what we do, we kind of get comfortable in our echelon of society that we're in, with 2 garages, a kitchen, university. I'm in the hood where mother does not have a thing in her fridge, right? The son at 11 years old, like I said earlier, is asked to bring home money into the house. Where do you think you're going to go? Five? Let me jump. Okay, call me again.
And I love that you're sharing this story, because that's also where the gap is that when we get comfortable, we forget to bring the other people. And so that has to now be part of our story. If we now say part of this rite of passage, for us, not even for just the younger people, but for us, as we move up the ladder, who are you bringing on? Let's redefine what wealth is. Not about money, but how many people have you brought up, right? So if we look at the hood and we can measure that, we can say the hood probably is working with a community that's like 100,000 people. And we're 200,000, and we say, you know what? 2 people to 1 family. And it's structured, and we start doing it. This thing is, we have to tell ourselves the new story, and we have to live the new story. You know what I mean? Like you share the story, and then we take it up, because you are looking for something to trust in also. So we hear you, and we're saying we have to work with you, because once we can get you over believing that this is possible, imagine the possibility. So we have to address it by coming together to invest in those families too, and those communities.
Yeah, and we have to include the base of the pyramid. We have to but the base of the pyramid is 2,500 is way up there. No one ever.
So, because we have online participation as well as in here participation, we have to even the floor. And I will say this: we started with the topic of justice. I'm just going to put one question out there, and I'd like us to all think of it, and not just assume. Would George Floyd be dead if he was any other culture? If he was any other culture, and not just because people don't like Black people, but my point is, did people see a strong, strapping man, and they stood aside saying, oh, sooner or later he'll overpower the cop because he's Black, and he's, Black people are so strong, and look how they're built. Did people stand around actually not help him because they thought he didn't need help, because that's what they think of us? When you see a Black woman carrying 10 grocery bags and no one will open the door for her, but a white woman with just 1, and 15 people are opening the door for her, are we seen as superhuman? Is it not that they don't like us, but that they fear us? They fear us. And that they don't understand how to measure when we need help, right? So would that have happened if George Floyd was another color?
Excellent, but I will put it to you. The question is excellent, but I will put it to you even more simply in combining what our sister was saying, and I agree 100%, and our brother talking about the why, I'm going to encourage you to run this little experiment I did in the high school of Ottawa in the 4 school councils, so English Catholic, French Catholic, English Public, and French Public. How do we explain that the vast majority of Black kids, Black teenagers, do not know who the richest Black person is? So yes, we are correct to point the finger at the image that is made of us, but, and this is very much in continuation to what the conversation we just had, the work that we have to do upon one another. Because yes, when you ask the question about George Floyd, excellent question. On one side, it's really the dynamics of white supremacy that led to George Floyd dying. And Arab men, aka white Arab, no matter how one wants to put it, believed a Black person did something wrong and called the police. But worse than that, the white police officer who killed our brother George Floyd. And I really say our brother George Floyd because, like anyone else, he has his flaws, but in death, he's our brother to all of us. But the white man who killed him was assisted by a yellow/Asian man and a Black man. How come they didn't stop this white man? It's the dynamics of white supremacy that led to the murder of George Floyd. And ultimately, as I remind people in conferences and trainings, it doesn't matter that I can tell you that I make 6 figures, that I drive a Cadillac, that I've won international awards, national awards, that I work for the Obama campaign. I can go on. I represented Canada, gold medal. None of that matters if, for 2 things, the Black youth, boy, girl, or man will look like me, can be killed at any moment. And it doesn't matter if in my nice outfit, nice car, etc., I get pulled over by the wrong cop. Notice I did not say white cop, wrong cop. So this really goes back to the identity, that community building. And allow me, I take the moment very quickly to answer Brother Robert, a comment earlier in terms of the comparison with Jewish and Chinese communities and how the perception is different from them than for us. That was basically it. Allow me to just remind all of us, I'm assuming everybody knows this, but one of my problems, my colleagues often tell me that I assume people know. So I'm just going to take a quick moment. The most famous Asian person in the world, even though he's been dead for 50 years, literally this year, 50 years, Bruce Lee, not only his name was not Bruce Lee, Lee John Fan, but one of the reasons he left America was because of anti-Chinese racism. You cannot understand China being powerful today unless you understand power, means, and interests of white supremacy in using China in order to break the communist bloc in the 70s. Nixon going to China in 1972, and from there, this is where you had Chinese high school students being brought to America for university and then going back home to China. The Chinese elites of today, just as the Arab elites, they've been educated in American universities, in British universities, in French universities, but they go back to their countries. Jewish people, until the 1950s, really the 1960s, so after World War II, for 2,000 years, the foreigner in the European mindset was the Jewish person. When it became an interest for them after World War II, Hitler, the Shoah, the Holocaust of the Jews, it became in the interest that Jewish people needed their own nation. This is when Jewish people, the state of Israel, and if Israel, the rich nation, is actually the nation that gets the #1 most economic aid out of the United States. It's an obligation of the United States to fund up to, I think, $4 billion a year Israel. 3/4 of it being military, 1/4 being economic, and the number one trading partner of Israel is, take a guess, USA. So it's back and forth. So it's the interest. So us as Black people, the interest has solely been to slavery and colonization. But as we've been saying here, and this is what I would really need all of our people to go back with. I said it earlier, this century, so we like to think as Black people on this side of the ocean that we've been oppressed because of our skin color for 4 centuries. No, 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 no. 2 things you have to understand. White Western enslavement of Black people started in 1443 by Portugal and ended in 1888 in Brazil. But the oppression of Black people on the basis of the color goes back to 14th centuries, the year 639, by white Arabs with the Bact Treaty. But it goes even further than that. It goes much further than that. The 18th, 19th century, when the Aryans started to invade the Dravidians in what we call today India. So the construction of the demonization of Blackness is what in this century we have to destroy. When I hear my sister and my brother, the conversation they had, it's a battle within our own mind. The ultimate solution is not whether or not Trudeau or Harper is in power and they sign grants or they do systemic racism 101, or whether Trump comes to power or not, or whoever is in charge. I mean, look at Britain. The Prime Minister is called Rishi Sunak. Yeah. That doesn't sound very British, yet he's applying very white, capitalist British policies. Absolutely. We must break the chains of our mind so that we can truly see one another as brothers and sisters. The nature of interest means that power, in regards to us, can only come from us in a century in which we are predicted that by the end of this century, none of us will be alive, but it is predicted that 1/3 of humans will be Africans. I did not say Black. So add the Caribbeans and add that there's a country, Brazil. Because we live in Canada, we get pumped with US news. Half of Blacks in the Americas are in Brazil. If they grow a Black consciousness to that level, this is why the biggest threat in terms of, it's not the Islamists who are killing everyone. It's not China. It's the fear. As Public Enemy or whatever, my brother just said it. That's what it is. I've taken too long, thank you. But that's what I wanted to address. Yes. Thank you. So this is what I addressed, notably from the institution, but we tell them, I'm like, you don't have to believe me, but I'm telling you.
Thank you, everyone. And remember, I'm not trying to squash any conversation. I'm just trying to be polite to the people.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can see or hear me okay. My name is Jackie Kasandi. I am calling in from Vancouver, BC. Hi to everyone. It's been really fascinating, and thank you, Ryan, for inviting me to this meeting. It's been fascinating hearing the conversations and kind of hearing where everyone is coming from and the work that is being done about the manifesto. A little bit background about me. I am an immigrant from Kenya. I've been in Canada 20-something years, so my whole adult life has been here. And out in the West, I run an organization. I have my own business. I'm an entrepreneur of eight years now. And I run an organization called BEBC Society, Black Entrepreneurs and Businesses of Canada Society, supporting about 2,100. So doing something similar to what ACBN does, but from out West. And one of our mandates is advocacy. And advocacy, of course, then becomes what Ryan is doing now, which I understand for the manifesto for Black people. And I was reading through the manifesto and everything that has been put through. And I don't know if Ryan has shared with the team yet. One of the things that we're doing on our side is we are organizing for urgent action, basically, for the permanent legislative policy of Black people. So hearing all of this conversation that is going on here today, and hearing what everyone is bringing up as issues that we need to solve, I agree. I think we have a huge problem in our community in terms of trusting each other. And we have an issue in trusting each other because we've really actually internalized the narratives that were built around us during slavery and beyond slavery. Right? We try to pretend that we haven't, but even the rest of us who come and are in the diaspora, we end up espousing those things in our actions, even though we don't think we do that. I have a business here, and we were trying to hire people, and we reached out to Black people, and majority of them didn't show up with a resume. And some of them were showing up late. Some of them were doing all of those things. If we were going to a white business or a white person, we wouldn't be doing that. Would actually show up on the times we said would show up, would come prepared, right? So within us as a community, we show the list of ourselves, unfortunately, because we're tired, because out in the world, we have to usually be 2 times or 3 times better than the next mediocre person to be counted as good. So when we come back home, we're just tired and we just expect understanding, which is completely understandable. But what that has meant, though, is that we perform the least with each other, and then we trust each other less because of that. And then the people who make it in our community end up espousing to be as white as possible, or in the white community, they don't actually stay within the community to build the community. So if you look at the ones that have made it and they're millionaires, there's A, few, and B, they stay on the outside of us in the community because we don't trust each other, right? So everything that you guys have talked about really brings us back to building community. But before we even do that, or as we do that, and the work that you're doing in the manifesto, we first in the federal level need a seat at the table. Because right now, Black people are the only equity-seeking group that doesn't have a seat at the table. We have little windows because, like, let's say Ryan has a relationship with someone at ISED, or someone else has a relationship with the working people somewhere in government. But when the government is making decisions, coming up with proposals, coming up with all of those things about the Black community, we are never at the table. They ask us for a lot of recommendations, right? The UN DPAD Push Coalition provided recommendations. Employment equity, provide recommendations. Racial justice, provide recommendations. And all of those go and sit in some minister's office until we can actually mobilize as a community and get people to actually vote for whatever legislation we're wanting, which we've never done as a group. And so what we're doing is we're trying to bring all of us together on singular focus, get a seat at the table. Once we have a seat at the table, then the work that is being done in this group and Ryan becomes really important, because then it sets the priorities of whoever gets to that table, whoever is now our voice at the table permanently. Here's our priority list: housing, food insecurity, racial justice. All of those things can actually be at the table and be in the budget annually, every year, no matter who's in power, whether it's liberals or conservatives or greens or whatever, it doesn't matter. Once we have a seat permanently at the table, the things we are fighting for, the things that we want that are coming up in the manifesto you guys have worked on, can get addressed. But in the meantime, in-house, we need to work on telling the stories and bringing us to the table. I had someone earlier on talking about eating together and doing all of that. Honestly, we Black people do better that way. People show up for food, but we need to actually start socializing and doing all of those things together to start to bring our community together, so that we can actually start to impact our voice. There's 1.6 million of us, and we hardly ever engage in our democracy. And because we hardly ever engage in our democracy, they don't think that any of our things are priority, right? If they know that their votes, their position in power is in danger because Black people in Brampton might sit up, they will actually start to move, right? But we've never done that where we've actually coalesced together as a community on one singular focus, get our seat at the table. Once we have a seat at the table, here's our priority list on the things that we need to get worked on that need to be in the budget. So this is a really good conversation. There's so many things that have come up today that I've heard, which is really amazing. But really one thing I want to say is us coming together collectively as a group is extremely important so we can start to make our 1.6 million votes count. Right now, they don't count. We're in little pockets doing different things. Ryan is doing something. I'm doing something. That people are doing something all over, but we actually haven't coalesced together on all of those things so that the government can trust and believe that we're saying the same thing and that we have a priority so they can actually bring those things to life. Because whatever complaints we have in the community will stay all of us having these conversations over and over and over until we can start to exercise our own democracy by getting the policy that we actually need. And then in-house starting to clean up. Ubuntu, Umoja, all of those things are important. But until we work on building trust within ourselves, within each other, to start to do business with each other, to start to build within each other. Someone was giving an example of the Umoja group that you're putting together where businesses, the 3,500. I was like, that's a great idea, but getting businesses to give 3,500 without trust is going to be hard. So anyways, let me keep quiet.
But I want for you, Jackie.
Oh,
sorry, one
a question
sec.
for me?
Yeah, quick question. Hi, Jackie. Farley Flex. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Nova Scotia has a ministry called the Ministry of African Nova Scotian Affairs. It's the only such thing I believe in the country. I've been talking to folks for a little while now about replicating that in whatever is appropriate for Ontario and for other provinces where, I mean, I don't know if we need a critical mass population-wise or whatever it may be, but I think that's, to me, I don't like the reinvention of the wheel all the time. So why don't we align with the folks, and they're still around, who established that effort in the first place? Not necessarily the folks who are in office now, but the folks who established it, see what the roadmap was. I mean, obviously they have a historical component there that leveraged the sensibility around it from all perspectives. But I think that's what we need to do. We need a Ministry of African Ontarian Affairs, a Ministry of African Albertan Affairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have a seat minimally at the provincial table, minimally, and that collective that comes out of that would be the joint ministries of African affairs nationally, which would then be a way to leverage into at the federal level. Does that make sense?
That completely makes sense, and it would work for a few provinces, but not all, because of the demographics. So it worked in Nova Scotia because of the number of Black people in comparison to the rest. It might work in Ontario and maybe Ottawa. It would not work for the rest of the provinces at all because of the numbers. So then that way you'll have pockets that can have that, but not the rest of the Black community. That's why we are starting with the federal, and we have an opportunity to get the federal work because we're all suspecting the elections will be called next year. If we actually coalesced and make our voice strong, we can actually get people in that already agree to establish a permanent legislative policy for Black Canadians before they get in. So we have a small window to actually get this done. If we decide to organize and do it well, we have a window to do it. But what Nova Scotia did, and I know them well, they're fantastic. But it worked because of the history of Nova Scotia and the number of Black people there that could bring that to life. That would never work in BC, for example. It would never work in I don't even know it would work really for the numbers in Montreal. It might work a little bit in Quebec maybe, but I feel like it would work in Edmonton. It would work in Toronto, in Ontario, just because of the number of Black people in Toronto, but I'm not so sure it would work for the rest of the provinces, which then would leave us disjointed. So we are working towards the federal one for this window that we have and see if we're able to get it. But I agree with you, for the provincial, we still need that as well. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Were you able to hear us? Can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, what you said made 100% sense. And I hope that others connect with you privately. Please put your information in the chat so they can.
Excellent.
Everyone, I believe that was a beautiful segue to wrap up the evening. We brought we had a day today of just expanding upon how we all feel. And to me, what the result of today is just an understanding and hopefully, a new level of understanding that we're all in this together. As I said to somebody, to me anyways, and you beautifully alluded to it, Juliet, we have to stop thinking the way we used to think, because we actually have come a long way and we actually are progressing. And we could almost, I think now if I wanted to, I could do business just in the Black community if I wanted to. Now we just need to be more aware of who each other is, where we are. And then I think as you start to do business with others, you will then want to do business with others again. And it just keeps snowballing. Sooner or later, trust becomes a non-issue. It just becomes a way of life, that what we're doing. Right. And so I'd like two people to close the evening for us. And that's the makers of these two platforms that could very well help us, get our thoughts together and get our businesses known. If they could both come up and... These two products? Just remind people.
Okay. Thanks again for having me. Just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to have these great discussions. You have businesses. Just remember that real ones. I'm just going to come here where you can see. Real Ones, it is a free GPS for Black-owned businesses and allies of the Black community. It is free to join. You can set up your business. You can identify as Black woman-owned. Users can make your curated lists as well. So please feel free to set this up. We talked about the tragedy of George Floyd. We don't want another tragedy, another trauma to have to galvanize us to actually take action. We've done the work. We're doing the work. It's live. It's in your hand now. Just take that step, register your business. It'll cost you nothing. And then we'll do what we can to help promote your businesses, to share the information, to be the first businesses popping up in Vancouver, in Calgary, in different places. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share. I believe in this wholeheartedly, and I know that this can change the world if we come in and we join, we apply, and we go from there. Thank you.
All right, and we have talked quite extensively this evening, both here in the room and online, about all the issues that we must deal with, and not all actually, but a good number of them. The reality, however, is talk is cheap. We've got to take action, right? We've got to take action. And the way to take that action and to be able to replicate it and to be able to hear everyone is we require a mechanism that can connect us all and that will allow us to capture what we're talking about. And that's what Mkutano is all about. And as I mentioned before, Mkutano is a Swahili word for to meet, and it is where Black Canada meets and organizes. So I encourage everyone, get on the platform. We are going to be taking a lot of the information we collected here and online, and we're going to be putting it on the platform in terms of discussions, questions, thoughts, and then we want everybody to come on and to add to that so that over time we'll build this information. And what are the benefits? Well, we're going to have increased economic and political power. We're going to determine prioritized objectives and plans. We're going to have organizational coordination, cooperation, and collaboration. We will understand our strengths and needs, opportunities, and potential. We'll have centralized information repository that we can access. We'll be able to identify and mentor our young leaders. We'll be able to have statistical information in order to make informed and accurate decisions. Every voice is important. Let's get together. Let's not worry about the diverse divisions. Let's just purpose in ourselves that we're going to make this happen and move forward. Thank you.
Actually, I'd just like to end the evening with a very inspirational person. Myself, every time she speaks, it moves me. And so, Juliet, I'm going to call on you. Please give us, call us to action. Give us some final words to tell us how we can mobilize ourselves in our community and how we can help one another, especially leading into Christmas, where we might have some people, as Farley suggested, that have no food in their fridge.
I speak into this? Okay. Am I good to go? Okay. So first off, I want to thank everyone for showing up, because the fact that we came together today is a testament to our decision, right, to move forward. There's a saying in my culture, onye kwe, chie kwe. That really means that when we agree, right, on something and we say we're going to do it, where it means that all the forces will come together. You command the universe. Even God will come to help you make that thing come to, fruition, right? So today we're agreeing that it's time for a new direction for us as a people. And we are the stories we tell ourselves. And it is time for us to start telling ourselves empowering stories that celebrate our joy. Because for too long, we've been stuck in the narrative of our lack, of the injustices, right, of all the inequalities that we face. They are real, they are valid. However, it's not the totality of who we are. As a people, we create from joy. And so we have to go back to that, to who we are. We are what we eat. We have to go back to what we put in our bodies. We have to go back to belonging, to community. That's who we are. And from that, we can create the future that we want. And so I'm just going to quickly read off the 7 Kwanzaa principles. There are 7 days in a week. If each of us will just focus on one for each day and begin to practice this as a community. So number 1, Umboja, unity. Number 2, Kujichagulia, self-determination, to create for ourselves in dignity. Number 3, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Every voice counts. Everyone is important. Ujama, cooperative economy. We have to build our own institutions. We have to build our stores, our own businesses, our schools, health systems, things that we control. And we have to build our people, our young ones, our youth, and our children. The next one is near purpose. A big, compelling vision of where we're going, so that we know that we're custodians, not of today, but of generations to come. And that consciousness we all have to go with. Kumba, creativity. We're creative people. No matter how the world wants to change the narrative, creativity is like a birthright. It's like the air that we build, in how we dance, in how we sing, in how we do everything, our hairstyles, in how we talk. It's like that swagger, that element, and how we don't talk. So it is who we are. So creativity in how we build businesses, creativity in how we fight oppressive systems, creativity in how we even educate our children, creativity in science, in all areas of our lives, and in how we exactly how we carry ourselves in the world. And the final one, for me, even the most important, is Imani, faith. We are spiritual people, right? We're not the things that have happened to us. We're not the things that were done to our ancestors. We're not the image that the world tells us, this demonization of blackness, right? Of who we are. We are all from one source. We're all Africans. And we go by faith. We understand that we're spiritual beings, right? When we come together, we stand not just as individuals. We come with all the people that have lived before us, all those that were drowned to the bottom of the ocean. They stand with us, in us, for us. So how can we question
that we can build something greater. We need to just look to the pyramid. We need to look to the art that comes from Africa. We need to look to the science, to the music, right? And on the spot, name that field and understand that in this collective consciousness, we can recreate even greater. And it is our responsibility. So those of you that are listening that are not in the room, next time this call is put out by ACBN, by Ryan, and everyone in the community as well, please show up.
Or bring someone.
Bring someone. Tell someone about it. That's how the evangelism happens. Because we must tell our stories and we must live our stories and then co-create the future that we want. Thank you.
That should have been at the beginning too. Yes. Yes.
You should make the video, cut this segment separately so that we can share it separately.
I love that
I'm
idea.
ashamed that I didn't record it because that was very good. I'm glad I said, we need a woman to speak on that.
Yeah. And again, so I'm looking forward to the next conversations, looking forward to seeing this compiled and then the discussions that come from our brainstorm today. So let's keep in touch. We'll figure out when the next meeting is, but for now, we've spent a long time together. I really want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Those that traveled from far, those that are even local but stayed with us, and people that just landed and come to, yes. That's where, because he is going to be giving a blueprint tomorrow about where the think tank creation and that process. So then we have to connect that with the community work. So yeah, it's going to take some back and forth. But yes, question.
Be tailored to allow you to come.
100%. Yes.
With my charity, I think it would be really advantageous because
Yeah.
they're younger than us and they're going to continue this. It's really important.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So, and that's where, let's design the next one together. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, with the culture, we have 30, 40, even sometimes 50 Black youth. And sometimes they bring the white and Arab friends. They get free basketball, free pizza, but they have to attend the mentorship and education segment. This is identity, leadership. So academic, we've actually taken some, so that is a great idea.
Yeah.
So the reason you said it is the next generation.
Yo, let's do it. All right. So let's design it together. We'll figure it out. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the weekend, and we'll send out the follow-up email to everybody. All right. Thanks to those online. Thank you. All right. We'll see you later.